The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus was teaching in the synagogue on the Sabbath, and a woman was there who for 18 years had been crippled by a spirit. She was bent over, completely incapable of standing erect. When Jesus saw her, he called to her and said, "Woman, you are set free of your infirmity." He laid his hands on her, and she at once stood up straight and glorified God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant that Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, said to the crowd in reply, "There are 6 days when work should be done. Come on those days to be cured, not on the Sabbath day." The Lord said to him in reply, "Hypocrites! Does not each one of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his ass from the manger and lead it out for watering? This daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound for 18 years now, ought she not to have been set free on the Sabbath day from the bondage?" When he said this, all his adversaries were humiliated, and the whole crowd rejoiced at all the splendid deeds done by him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It seemed like only the Pharisees did not realize that they were being so hypocritical. The crowd is kind of elated. But though it may seem strange to us, this attitude of the Pharisee, we ought not to be, because it isn't an attitude that is out of left field even today. They believed wholeheartedly on that commandment of the Sabbath, to keep the Lord's day. But in their concern with the careful observation of that, they developed so many rules and regulations and concomitant exceptions that they lost the forest for the tree in front of their nose. They got so tied up in being righteous by a detailed observance of the law that they forgot what the law was about. Elsewhere, Jesus made it clear to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not vice versa, not man for the Sabbath. Because the observance of the Lord's day is not about God, it's about us and our relationship to him and to one another. And that right relationship is always about love. If I come to worship without love, then I'm not truly worshiping. If I don't keep the Sabbath, if I don't go to Sunday Mass, if I don't observe the many other obligations that are part of being a good Catholic, and observe them all only as a routine, as a burden, as an obligation that I need to fulfill as a tradition that I observed that existed in my family from time immemorial, then I have lost also the forest for the tree in front of me. If I have not loved, I am nothing, says St. Paul. I might give my body over to the unquenchable fire. I might sacrifice everything I have and give away everything to the poor, but if I have love, I have nothing. And this is what Jesus is reminding him here very, very clearly. My God, they should have been singing hallelujahs and praising God that this poor woman has suffered. Instead, they reprimand her when they hypocritically would feed their ox or their cattle on the Sabbath, untie them so that they could pasture. This is what Jesus is pointing out. In the end, it's all about love. That doesn't mean to get the other extreme attitude. Well, and I'm sure you've all heard it, I've heard it ad nauseum. I love God, I believe in God, and I have a private relationship, and I don't need to go, mass. I don't need to observe that Sunday obligation because, I love God and he knows it. Well, when do you show it? And is your relationship only about you and God and everybody else be damned? Is it not we and God? Is he not Abba, Father, who has given us life itself, who enlightens us and strengthens us and gives us courage, that allows us to recognize that if he is our Father, then Jesus Christ is our brother, and then every man and woman in this planet is my brother, my sister, is family to me. How long would my family ties last if I never gather with them, if I never write to them, if I never stay in contact with them and my father and my mother? It's all an excuse. The other extreme, to those who come to worship faithfully every Sunday, but spend the time looking around, criticizing in their minds and in their hearts those around them, finding fault with everything, starting with a preacher, and do not appreciate the tremendous gift that God has given us in the Eucharist. That he has done it not for his sake, but for our sake. That we need the Lord. This is what has been so awful for people who love the Eucharist and follow it, that during the pandemic, to be able to follow the prayers is a consolation, to see the celebration is a consolation, to join ourselves to the Lord in a spiritual communion is a consolation. But it cannot substitute for the Eucharist when we truly love the Eucharist, when we love this gift that the Lord gives us. And so, we can fall into one or extreme or the other, where I am so meticulous and an observer of the laws that I lose the purpose of the law, which is to make me grow in love of God and love of neighbor, to worship him rightly, and to serve him generously. Or where I am indifferent to it because essentially I do not love God or neighbor, and faith is indifferent to me. I hope we don't fall in either extreme, that the Lord gives us always this tremendous faith that allows us to see him at work at the liturgy, to hear his word and make that word our own, A faith that allows us to grow in love, in generosity to others. A faith that is reflected with every breath we take and in every relationship we have. May it be so every single day of our lives.